Hey folks, it's Nate. It's time I got back to the drawing board, and today we're going to talk about Bass Reeves, Season 1, Episode 2. And this is the second of the Allegiance Arts comics that I'm following. This is my favorite. The first issue of this was my favorite of their first issues that I read, and I think this is shaping up to be their best series. Bass Reeves, as you may or may not be aware, is a famous lawman from the Old West. He's a real historical figure, and this is a look at his history. It is by Kevin Grevioux and David Williams, and it is a good time. It's slick, it's stylish, the art is great for the kind of story it's presenting, which is a Western with larger than life characters. It's got very dynamic action scenes. It has very, very expressive character faces. They are quite cartoony, for lack of a better word. These are not hyper realistic faces. The illustration style is it's not Saturday morning cartoon. It is it's not quite the Boondocks either. I'm struggling to find a good parallel to this style of animation. And it's hard to think of one. And you know, that's to its credit. It is very distinct in the way it is illustrated, and I think that makes it stand out from the pack. The art style is one of the things I love about this comic. So again, nothing but praise for that. I especially like to see, as I said before, there's a lot more subtle expression in this one than the first one, because the first one was just sort of setting up Bass Reeves and his career. And it was more swashbuckling action and adventure than this one, which has some very serious character development in it that the art manages to convey quite well in spite of its less realistic style. So I think this one is going to depend partly on taste. Some people just may not like the way the artist has rendered the faces and in some cases the characters, because they are a little bit more cartoony. That doesn't mean the art is bad. I think it's just fantastic. But I recognize that there is an element of taste in this. So story-wise, we do see Bass bringing in some of his bounties. That's what he does. He's a U.S. Marshal, and he brings people in and turns them in. We see him being very clever in the way he goes about it. Here he takes the place of an Indian who is supposed to be taking product from rum smugglers or some kind of booze smugglers. And yeah, so he not only has the tracking skills and the shooting skills, he is quite clever in the way he brings people in. And in the meantime, we see that he is having trouble at home. His son is getting himself into trouble. He does a little shoplifting. He is taken to the judge. And the judge gives him a pass because he knows it's Bass Reeves' son, and he hopes that Bass will be able to straighten him out without him having to, go and do time or get fined or have any kind of bad consequences from that. And maybe that was a bad choice, because we know that. Well, I won't get into spoilers, but so yeah, this is the other conflict Bass Reeves has. It's not just him hunting down crooks and having to find ways to bring them in and outthink them and outfight them in order to capture usually larger groups of people. He also has this problem at home. He's not spending as much time at home as he would probably like. He's out for weeks running down these people, and he doesn't get to know his family as well as he should. His son acts out because his father isn't there, and it is a real hurdle that he has to overcome. And it's handled with a lot of finesse and a lot of grace. And at the same time, it's very realistic about the problems at play here. And it shows Bass getting angry. He's not a perfect man. He gets very upset with his son, probably rightfully so. But he also has to face the facts that this probably would have been an issue if he had been at home. And we see that conflict eat at him, and he goes and he talks to the local priest. And this is a really moving moment where Bass talks about how he fears like his pride and his ego and his satisfaction in running down these criminals and bringing them to justice has become a stumbling block and swelled up, and it blinds him to the needs of his family. At the same time, the preacher tells him he's doing good, and this is a good work that God has uniquely equipped him to do. And at the same time, he's failing his family, and we can really see the conflict here. Bass struggles with it, and the priest reassures him that the work is working towards good, but we don't always know how God's working in our lives will lead to that good. And that is, an issue that every person of faith has to struggle with, because you do not always see the outcome of the good that you do as you live your life out. And I think this is, when I reviewed Soul Finder Demons Match, I talked a little bit about the difficulties of presenting a person of very strong faith in a way that is very relatable to people. And here I think Kevin Griveau has nailed that. We really see how Bass Reeves' faith is a part of what drives his struggle and is also a part of what helps him overcome the obstacle. He is driven to the struggle because his faith tells him that doing a good thing in the Lord's name is a good deed. It's something he should pursue, and his career is a good thing. However, abandoning his family is something that the Lord condemns, and this priest telling him that sometimes you just have to trust the Lord to work that out. That is his faith helping him overcome the challenges he faced. So it's a very nuanced examination of a character of faith, which you almost never see in comics or really any media. And I really like that they managed to do it, and they managed to do it in like 5 or 6 pages. This is only about a quarter of the story in here, maybe a third. And that's really impressive. They managed to introduce this really difficult, sensitive subject and resolve it and do it believably and effectively in a short period of time without making any of their characters seem flat or pat or simple-minded. And that is great. I would love to see more writing like this in particular in the future. So the story ends with the introduction of some highway robbers who are probably going to be Bass Reeves' new antagonist for the next issue. And again, this is great stuff. I like reading it. I like looking at it. And I look forward to continuing to read Bass Reeves as long as Allegiance publishes it or it goes south, which is, entirely possible. Or, they could run out of story. This is based on a real guy. He only lived so long. So, we'll see what happens. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, there's a like button and subscribe button down below. You can use them as you see fit, and I'll talk to you later.